Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
Hi, it's me, Egbert, E-G-G-B-U-R-T, the owner of this radio station. I invite everyone to listen, no matter if you're young, old, black, white, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, heck, I even want real estate agents listening to my station. Yes, even Rick and Tracy. You're all welcome. Now, it's back to my Goodwill ambassadors, Brad and John.
Ancient Chinese secret.
I had a guy talk to me yesterday, and I can't reveal what his name is because he'd be mad at me because I talked about it on the air, and I'm not going to mention Bill Moyer called me. But he was talking Tracy Ellis stuff to me yesterday. I'm going like, okay, Bill, I'm done. It was sort of interesting. Okay, anyway, that is John Combest. I am Brad. Okay. I know you're not the kind of guy that lives and dies over the box office reports for the weekends for the movies. You're not that kind of a guy, are you? You could really.
Yeah, I can't tell you anything that's playing at a theater.
You could care less, right?
No, that's incorrect. I couldn't care less. When idiots say could care less, that means you could give a care. But I couldn't care less, Brad. Well, I'm not calling you an idiot. I'm just saying idiots use that phrase.
I think you are calling me an idiot. And you know what? I take that as a badge of courage, okay? Badge of honor. Okay.
But I couldn't care less. You're right.
The interesting thing is the movie Megalopolis, okay? Do you know anything about this movie?
I've never heard of it.
Francis Ford Coppola, or whatever his name is, put in $120 million of his own money. This is his own money because the studios say, that movie's a turkey, we're not touching that. So he put in $120 million of his own money. Guess what the box office was for its opening weekend?
Not much.
$3.5 million.
Oh, no.
I'm going like... And the interesting thing about this is this falls on the heels of... What's the dude? I think I need to, I got my little bottle of Prevagen up here. I think I need to start taking my Prevagen more often. What's the dude from I get these crazy mind blocks where I can't remember these people's names. The Yellowstone dude who's
Joe Ortworth.
No, not Joe Ortworth. Yes. Who's the head dude in Yellowstone? Okay.
Sean Brown. Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner. Okay. Kevin Costner did the same thing, and I can't remember if it was at August or early September, where he has like a trilogy of movies that, once again, this is the reason why he didn't want to continue on with the Yellowstone franchise, because he was too busy producing these movies, which he said were going to be so impactful and be so successful, and he spent I don't know how many millions of his own money, because once again the studio said, Kevin, we love you, dude, but these movies are turkeys, we're not touching them. And I think his movie did like $4 million worth of, and he put like $60 million of his own money or something like that. And I'm going like, man, first off, I don't know if the movie industry is, you're Mr. Moneybags, you're Mr. Investment. I don't know if the movie industry is where people are successfully investing their money for great rewards. You watch all the stocks, the movie stocks, they're not doing the best. All the studios are thought they were going to do great when they did the streaming. It's not turned out that way, has it?
Yeah, I don't think so. And in fact, other than Netflix and Amazon, I can't think. There was the chain that did the gimmick of they had the you could buy a movie pass and use it like all year long. Other than that, I can't think of any movie stocks, Brad. Well, but you're right. I mean, I think it's a race to the bottom in terms of making profits for these companies.
Well, the problem is that Netflix is, they always talk about this in business. They have the advantage of first successful person in a segment, and everybody else jumps in, and it's very hard to bump off that person that got the original bump. And that obviously was Netflix with their whole concept. And you go back, it's hard to believe the company started out sending you DVDs in the mail. You know what I mean? When you look at
I remember that. I was an early subscriber to it, Brad, right. And I don't have the the streaming service, but I used to get the CDs in the mail or the DVDs in the mail.
Right. And if you know, the crazy thing about it is this is one of those crazy moments in CEO history when they started to pick up steam with Netflix, with the subscription model, essentially the streaming model. The CEO at that point in time decided, you know what, we're going to divide the company in half, and we're going to call the old version where you got the DVDs in the mail, that's going to be Netflix, and the new version is going to be called, I don't even remember what it was. And that didn't work out so well. And then they came back, we're just going to call the whole thing Netflix, so that way it's not confusing. But, I guess when you're somebody like Francis Ford Coppola or Kevin Costner, and you have this dream and you have it, that burning desire in your heart. I mean, I don't know. I wish them well, but to me, I don't think I'd be putting money into the movie industry. Now, somebody like Matt Walsh, who, that movie obviously was a low-budget movie. I think that thing's actually making money. I think that's actually turned a profit already. But I don't know. I mean,
and wouldn't somebody listening to this hold a mirror up to you and say, Brad, why would you invest your time and your money in the radio industry?
Well, they're right. I'm losing my ass, I mean.
No, but I'm not being sarcastic. I'm being serious. Like they would, and you can point to the numbers that the industry sends radio stations to reassure them to hold their hand that say, no, people totally listen to radio. It's the number one. People listen to 26 hours of radio a day. Trust us. Don't leave the industry. Ugh. But in real life, people would come to you and say, Brad, why are you putting time and energy into a dying industry?
But John, you're perpetuating the myth. It's not the industry that's saying that. It's it's Nielsen. Matter of fact, it's sort of interesting because Nielsen has this new rating system that they debuted where essentially they're rating everything across all different platforms. They can tell you who's streaming. They can tell you who's doing this. They can tell you who's watching, YouTube. They can tell you who's watching. I told you that was the interesting thing, that the first extensive survey they came out with, the number one entertainment platform is YouTube. Now, once again, if most people, you'd say YouTube, because most people are going to say, well, the number one entertainment platform is Netflix. No, Netflix, I don't even think made it into the top 5, which is sort of interesting because of the fact that, once again, according to you saying, I'm the guy saying, well, the radio business is doing great. The crazy thing is, as far as listenership is, it is. The problem is, it's a daily battle to convince people to think that it's not. Now, it's sort of the same thing. Let's say, do the same parallel. What the government is trying to do, the government's trying to tell us, hey, electric cars are great. They're wonderful. You're going to love them. They're just going to be great. They're going to be wonderful. Well, once again, to certain people, they work very well. But if you live in an apartment complex, or if you have a situation where you're traveling a lot and you're like an on-the-road salesperson or stuff like that, the electric cars suck, because of the fact that, now, perfect example. I see these all the time. You don't even know what these are. The Amazon Rivian trucks. Are you familiar with what the Rivian trucks are?
Yeah, I'm a shareholder in Rivian. Go ahead.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
I moved out of Rivian, yeah.
Okay, but you know what the Rivian trucks look like, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They're boxy.
Right. And they're big and they have, it's sort of cool because at night they have like a halo of red lights around the back, like LEDs across the back. It's like a big halo that almost does a complete 360 around the back of the truck. Okay. Once again, that makes perfect sense because the vehicle goes back to the Amazon distribution center. They plug it in at night. It charges all night long. They know exactly how many miles that truck's going to, go the next day because of the fact they've got it all, the routes all planned out. They know exactly how many deliveries that truck's going to make. They know exactly when that truck's going to be back if the driver, keeps the schedule and the whole bit. It makes sense. But for anybody else, for truck drivers and things like that, doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense.
So I think if Francis Ford Coppola, to get back, we've had a few diversions here. To get back to your point, Brad, I think if Francis Ford Coppola or Kevin Costner want to spend their money on a passion project, I don't see how that's different than a businessman in the St. Louis area saying he's going to burn his money on radio or any other endeavor. You get what I'm saying? Like if it's a passionate hobby that you enjoy, like I don't know. You know what? Let him lose $100 million at the box office or whatever. And if he has a good time doing it, Let him do a live remote from Darden Prairie days, Brad. I mean, you had a great time with Shelley.
Okay, here's the article from the New York Times. Coppola's Megalopolis plays to nearly empty theaters. Now this one, according to the New York Times, said he spent $140 million on the film, and it debuted to an estimated $4 million in weekend ticket sales. John, I hear what you're saying. He's got the money. If he wants to spend it on a Ferrari or something like that, more power to him. But I don't know. I mean, to me, when you see people like that, especially the Hollywood crowd that is crying so much about the fact that we need to take care of our citizens and we need to welcome the immigrants and blah 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 blah. I think how many immigrants he could have helped with $140 million. Right?
Maybe he hired immigrants for the filming of that show. And to be clear, I just looked at my retirement account that I rarely check, Brad, and I sold Rivian. So I have not worn that lately. So I just want to correct that. It's not financial advice. Maybe Francis Ford Coppola employs a bunch of Mexican immigrants or Haitians maybe from Springfield, Ohio, and maybe he feeds them cats, maybe he feeds them dogs, and maybe he keeps those folks employed, Brad.
Well, why did you sell Rivian? Is that something that you didn't have control of? Is that like an?
Oh no. It's so I have a few different retirement accounts, which is beyond the scope of. I generally don't like to talk about this, like the accounting part of it, on air. But Rivian was a good spot to be a couple years ago, and then I've been, as I've talked about on the show, I've been aggressively short Tesla for most of the last year. I love Elon Musk, but I've been aggressively short Tesla, and so that's been a good move on my part. But anyway, I'm not one to pat myself on the back.
See, you and Bill Gates, because that's the beef that Elon has with Bill Gates, and to a certain extent, I agree with him. Elon's saying, Bill, you're talking about saving the environment. You're talking about helping with sustainability of our environmental assets, and yet you're shorting my company when I'm the guy.
Hey, let me interrupt. And I've talked about this before, I know, but you can be a fan of Elon Musk. I love what he's done with X, and think that Tesla, look at how often Tesla actually meets their production predictions. They get on a quarterly call, they say, next quarter we're totally going to make whatever production milestone, and then they don't. Like, eventually you got to turn a profit. You can love a company and aggressively hate its stock. And people who are morons who say, well, you should buy the stock if you support the company. That's not the way the world works. But, that's, Brad, what I often do is just smile and nod and say, oh, you're right. You buy that Tesla stock because you love Elon Musk. You buy that Budweiser stock because you love transgender cross-dressers on a can. Just smile and nod, Brad.
But wasn't that the whole concept behind the Vanguard dude? Wasn't that the whole concept that if you like a company, you should buy that company?
No. You're talking about Peter Lynch, who ran the Magellan Fund for a long time.
Right.
That was not his point. His point was that if you understand what a company does, then you should buy their stock. He wasn't talking about being a fanboy of Elon Musk or saying, I love Starbucks. I think I'm going to buy some Starbucks stock. No, you're better off not spending as much money in the checkout line at Target, sweetie, than buying a share of Target stock.
John, do you fly from time to time still?
No.
When you flew a lot, were you ever on Southwest?
I was, yeah.
Did you like Southwest?
I did, yeah.
Did you like the culture?
I did, yeah.
Do you know what? You're killing that culture. You are killing that culture.
Thank you, Brad.
Is Southwest in your portfolio?
No, I haven't owned I first bought Southwest Airlines in 1994 when I was in high school, ticker symbol SWA. And so I've owned it on and off, but I'm not in the airlines now. By the way, if folks want to invest in Southwest and the airline industry, but not pick individual stocks, if you don't want to mess with individual stocks, there's an ETF called JETS, JETS, and you can buy and sell JETS, the ticker, just like you would. So, Brad, I'm stepping on your Kelleher story. Do you want to tell the story about how he would go out for photo ops for a couple minutes every holiday and get his picture taken? Is that where you're going with that?
John's the guy that's going to always, poke fun at the things I think are interesting, or I think are positive. The story is that for years and years and years, Herb Kelleher, the founder of Southwest Airlines, used to show up on Christmas Day and Thanksgiving Day and help the baggage handlers load baggage in and out of the planes. And I always thought that was impressive. And John said he showed up in his limousine, he rolled up his sleeves, picked up one suitcase. The photographers were there, and the video guys were there shooting the video. And then he loaded the one suitcase into the plane and got back in his limousine and went home and stuffed himself with turkey. Correct? Isn't that what John is essentially saying?
But people believe it. Just like Nielsen can send out a report saying people totally still listen to radio, people that want to believe it, people that wanted to believe that Herb Kelleher was out there sweating on Thanksgiving Day, working his butt off with the employees, they can believe it. The best thing that Herb Kelleher did, besides taking an airline from virtually nothing at Love Field in Dallas and making it into a worldwide phenomenon, is that he made sure that stewardess could actually fit in between the aisles. Now, Herb Kelleher leaves, and then look at your average airline sweetie, the average attendant that's bringing you your coffee or your drinks. Can she turn around in the aisle, Brad? Does she have what's known colloquially as a waist? Is there a difference between her midsection and her hips? Probably not.
John.
Anyway, rest in peace to Herb Kelleher.
Do I dare tell you the story of how I got an article that was sent to me the other day by one of our listeners? And no, this is not who you think it is. This is someone I've never ever talked about on the air before. They sent me an article. You want me to read you the title of the article?
Sure. We got a minute left in the block. Read it to me.
Man, let me find it here real quick. Where is it? Okay. Here's the title of the article is 12 Ways to Spot a Misogynist.
Ooh, nice. Was it my picture 12 times?
And do you want me to really tell you what this female listener sent when she sent me the link? And then she put underneath, she gave me a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think I better do this because you'll get mad if I read this on the air.
I don't think. Does the text smell like cat urine and desperation?
Okay, so you're not going to get upset when I read this?
No, please do.
She says, she sends, and this is from Psychology Today, 12 Ways to Spot a Misogynist. And then underneath she says, John, he probably has a small penis. That's what she...
Hey! Now, Brad, remember... When we talked about this, like last week, the number one go-to for women is if they disagree with a man, they talk about his genitalia. Now, Brad, we literally talked about that last week. The number one thing is genitalia. The number two thing is who hurt you. So think of how fat and out of shape and disgusting whoever this, I'm guessing here, woman is who uses a thing like, oh, I know, genitalia. We'll go to genitalia, or we'll go to who hurt you. This is a good lesson for young men who listen to the show, Brad. Not people who are going to have one foot in the grave and who have ridiculously high cholesterol and won't be with us in 5 years. But for young men who listen to the show, remember, when a woman who's angry and unfulfilled disagrees with you, the first place she'll go to is genitalia.
Okay, that's John Combest, C-O-M-B-E-S-T, cementing our position as the number one talk station for women. Okay, we have to take a break.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T. John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?